and welcome to your moment of inspiration. In this episode, we are going to talk about a very important topic, mistakes. In life, we all make mistakes, but then not all of us are able to learn from our mistakes. What we do is that we focus on the negative things, the negative aspects of making mistakes, what didn't go well, and you forget about the positive aspects of making mistakes. Today we have a very prominent personality, a good friend of mine, and he's going to help us deliberate more on this issue and how to come out better and make better choices next time. He's going to introduce himself.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
I'm Emanuel, a medical student, and I'm also a preacher.
Yeah.
And it's great being here to talk about this very
It's great to have you here. You know, Emmanuel Graham has really impacted upon my life. For the past years that I've seen him, he has made my life so better. First of all, what is your definition to mistakes?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
When we talk about mistake, normally it's an action or a choice that we come up or we end up regretting. And that is primarily because whenever we make a choice, there is an expected consequence or an expected result that we're waiting for.
Exactly.
And this expectation that we have generates a level of energy. And once this expectation is not met, we feel sad, we feel depressed, we feel bad about ourselves, we doubt our own capacities. And that is when we put our hands on our head and we say, oh my God, I just made a mistake.
Okay. So then can we say making mistakes, is it a normal part of life, or?
Rightly so, it is. I mean, let's get into something here.
Okay.
We actually all make mistakes.
Okay.
I think in about 2012, I suppose, Usain Bolt was contesting in a race. He made a false start and he had to be ejected. I think that was the final. And this is the all-time, runner, best, and he happens to make such an error.
Exactly.
And exactly. And when we look at, someone like Michael Jordan, Jordan is known for his heroic achievements, but then he says for almost 300 games he lost, and about 9,000 shots he missed. And he makes mention of the fact that 26 times he's supposed to make a match-winning shot, give the win to his team, and he failed. So at the end of the day, the journey from where we are to where we going, it doesn't just happen. And we even see it on the football pitch.
Exactly.
We talk about Lionel Messi, we talk about Cristiano Ronaldo. Actually, parts of it doesn't have to do with the skill. It has to do with the mindset.
The mindset, okay.
You understand? It has to do with the mindset. Though they might make a mistake this week, the next weekend they'll be on top of their game.
Okay.
And that is how it goes. Because making a mistake often is like dropping a pin in an ocean.
Okay.
Often it doesn't really matter. But sometimes we take it too hard on ourselves.
Exactly. So then how can an individual be open to making mistakes? Seeing that mistake is normal part of life, how can we be open to making mistakes?
Okay. That's a very wonderful question. Getting yourself open to making mistakes is actually the way you find yourself on the top.
Okay.
It's not so much about how we can open ourselves to making mistakes than it is about what we gain from making mistakes.
Okay.
There was a study about 17 self-made millionaires who happened to be entrepreneurs. And the study revealed that on the average, they made, on an individual basis, at least 17 trials before they found the eureka moment. That means that they made 17 attempts, different business ideas. Oh God, I have this idea. They tried out, it fails. Oh, this one seems better. They tried out, it fails. And at least 17 of them didn't work out. And they try again, and it's eureka. So at the end of the day, what we have to know is that the fact that this doesn't work doesn't mean that's it. Sometimes you just have to keep pushing. And sometimes we just have to keep pushing more and more and further, and we get there. So we have to come to appreciate that mistakes in themselves, sometimes they help us to even get to where we're actually going.
Exactly.
Because the difference between the achieving person and the average person lies in their perspective of and their response to failures.
Exactly.
The average person crawls and shrinks and plays the dirge when he fails or makes a mistake. The successful person or the achieving person takes down his notes, analyzes the situation, and drafts a plan forward. So we would have to understand that mistakes are not bad, and we just have to embrace it as they come.
There is a quote about making mistakes in life. It says that mistakes in life is your path to wisdom. What is the wisdom in making mistakes?
Wisdom is said to be the successful application or the right application of knowledge.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, we don't always get it right with ourselves.
Exactly.
Because I don't think anyone has done this life perfectly enough. There is this book, The Road Less Traveled. It opens up by saying life is difficult.
Life is difficult.
And apparently we've come to believe that life is rather easy, and so we are taking it difficult on ourselves. But life is actually difficult, and sometimes we just have to be easy on ourselves. Because the way you then get through, or the way you get to know what you know, is sometimes by mistakes. We have two ways of learning actually. There is the learning by experience and learning by mentorship. And normally the wisdom that comes through mistakes is learning by experience.
Okay.
You understand? I believe there are times when you're talking to a 50-year-old, he tells you or she tells you certain things that sound so like, whoa. And you'd be like, she's a wise person. But sometimes they wish they could tell you, I can only tell you this because of the mistakes I made.
Exactly.
They wish they could actually tell you that. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we realize that through what we've been, as a result of what we've been through, we gather so much wisdom gem in our bag, and as and when it's needed, we bring them out for the next generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. The way you are speaking, in fact, you are pouring out words of wisdom on us. Can I suggest that you've never made a mistake in life?
That would be impossible. That would be impossible.
Albert Einstein said something that is very interesting, that a person who never made a mistake is somebody who never tried anything new. So that it means that, in our endeavor to bring out, things to the world, in our endeavor to bring out certain positive things into the world, definitely there will be at some point in our lives so we are going to fall down.
Absolutely.
We are going to falter.
Absolutely.
But then that shouldn't depict or dictate doom for us.
Absolutely.
That shouldn't tell us that is the end of life. It should rather encourage us, like you are saying. We should be able to sit down, think about where it didn't go well, and actually what contributed to the downfall or whatever it is, and see how best we can build upon it, how we can improve it. And it's so wonderful what you've shared with us. But then let me ask you, why is it that so many people are afraid to make mistakes?
Well, that is a very interesting question. The reason why,
and I'm asking it because if we have this great wisdom in making mistakes, if making mistakes can teach us more, like how you've explained, so then why are we afraid to make mistakes in life?
You see, we live in a social environment, and making mistakes have been associated with being a failure, which is actually not the case.
Exactly.
So there is a level of stigma associated with it, and that is at every stage in life. The kid who goes to school is afraid to make a mistake because he's going to get beaten by the teacher, or he's going to be classified as dumb. And we've had actually a couple of successful people being classified as dumb. Albert Einstein.
Yeah, exactly.
You understand? So at every level, we never want to be looked down upon. We have a brilliant business idea, which might actually work out. But at the end of the day, we try to move away from, implementing that idea, because in our circle, we are afraid to be called dumb, not smart enough. You are not, talented enough to actually be an entrepreneur in this regard. So we try to actually prevent all these comments from coming. So as a result, we just try to evade this whole
thing.
Exactly. And whenever we fear making mistakes, we eliminate a very important process in the success journey. Success is becoming. It's a journey. It is not being. Being makes it static, which it isn't. It's not static. So when we make it very static, we lose the experience of the journey itself. It is a process of becoming.
Yeah.
You understand? So we would have to then appreciate the journey and that which comes out of it as youth. And then take it easy on ourselves to become learners. When you make a mistake today, you sit down, you correct it. Because apparently, what we think are life-changing or destiny-changing mistakes are not. And it starts a cascade of worry that never ends. It ends up making us perfectionists. And so we get into this chain reaction where we keep messing up, where we keep blowing up, where we keep speeding up to make up for the lost time, where we keep, covering up, giving up. But what mistakes will actually require of us to do is rather to wake up. So as youth, we would have to then wake up to the reality. Welcome to the 21st century and welcome to the human realm. Mistakes are normal. Wake up and learn and get stronger.
Okay. So then, how then do we learn from our mistakes?
In order to learn from our mistakes, part of it, like I've said, is to admit it.
Admit it, okay.
Now, when you admit it, you would have to take a step back. There is something going on at this very moment.
Okay.
Actually, you can get busy at any point in time and not be productive at anything you're doing.
Okay.
So, if you try and it's not working, you take a step back.
Okay.
In isolation, a man finds himself.
Wow.
But, we are so afraid to be alone that in our misery, we want to be noticed. Because misery loves company too.
Exactly.
But if we would take a step back, reflect on what worked and what didn't work, and make the necessary correction to achieve the goal, to turn the table, I think that would be very helpful.
Okay.
Let me back it with this.
Okay.
We've had a couple of prisoners who come out very refined.
Wow, yeah.
Because when people are caught up in a web of bad decisions and bad choices, they often don't realize it until the ultimate happens. And when they find themselves in the prison room, a man finds himself and begins to think and tap into his inner soul, tap into who he really is in a way that he's actually never identified.
Okay.
And they come out very refined.
Wow. That has drawn my attention to something. Normally what we do when we feel we are making mistakes is we rush to people.
Exactly.
Counseling for ideas, and most of the times too, sometimes that even the counseling and the ideas that we get from people leads us to making other mistakes.
Exactly.
So what you have said about isolation and how then how do you get to know that this particular mistake that I've made, I'm supposed to isolate myself, or I'm supposed to go to somebody who is going to tell me this, or counsel me? Where does counseling and isolating yourself comes in? Is it something that is naturally phenomenal, that this mistake will lead you to isolate yourself, or this mistake leads you to go to somebody for counseling?
Interesting question. Well, in talking about isolation, I'm not eliminating counseling.
Okay.
What are you going to be counseled about if you do not know what is wrong?
Oh, okay.
Isolation identifies the problem. Counseling gives clarity to the problem and opens a myriad of choices available to correct the issue.
Exactly.
So when we find ourselves in the secret of our homes or wherever we find ourselves, it is to delve into our soul. Is it lack of discipline?
Okay.
Is it lack of information? What is the issue? Because if you need a financial advice, the best person to go to is someone in the financial field,
Exactly.
an accountant or whoever. To go to a doctor for financial advice is not necessarily the best thing to do.
Exactly.
If it's bad health, you don't go to the accountant, you go to the doctor. So to choose who to go to, isolation reveals the issue.
Wow. So, what is your final thoughts to our viewers?
My final, it's actually supposed to encourage you in this way. There is grace for mistakes, you know. I mean, there might be someone out there who might be like, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know about my story. You don't know about the pain of losing a son because you were a bit careless there. And, you know, you don't know about that. That is true. There are some mistakes that can produce lifelong pain. You understand? But it is enough to know that even that God gives grace. You see, when you're using the GPS to make a voyage, part of what it does is when we get to probably a junction, it tells you 10 left or 10 right. Assuming you're on a call, and as a result you get to this junction, you're unable to notice, you know, you continue driving straight. It tells you recalculating routes. And the reason why it's recalculating routes is you still need to get to the destination.
Exactly.
If something invented by man isn't given up on you, how much more God? When Abraham has actually gone to sleep with Hagar and given birth to Ishmael, God didn't give up on him. God made grace available. Isaac came forth. And when generations down the lane, we find Joseph being sold to Ishmaelites. It's like the mistake of Abraham is now becoming the miracle of Joseph. Because if the Ishmaelites had not been there, Joseph would have been killed.
Wow.
And so they sell Joseph, and now Joseph rises to prominence, and he saves the day.
Wow.
So there is actually grace for us.
Right.
There is grace for our mistakes. And we need to be content in whatever state we find ourselves in. That, you know what, God is recalculating those routes. The relationship failed, and it's like there is no hope. God is actually recalculating the routes. The people that you took, it's almost collapsed your whole educational life, but God is actually recalculating the routes. So what seems like there is actually no way because of what we did, God said to me, it's like, watch me do this. I will recalculate this route. Because Bible says that the steps of a good man are ordered by God. And even when he falls, he, the Lord, will sustain. So at the end of the day, what it means is, though God is ordering our steps, he knows there are moments of weakness. There are moments where you might make a bad choice. He says, even in that moment, Bible says, for all things work together for good, for they that love the Lord.
Exactly. That is my favorite scripture.
That is awesome.
I love it so much.
Awesome.
That inspires me so much. Yeah.
It is wonderful. You see, so we have to come to terms with it. Mistakes doesn't make you a failure. You are more than that. I want you to tell yourself, I am success. I am victorious. I'm created in the image of God. I carry abundance in my spirit. That is who I am. The society can't define us because we made a mistake.
Wow.
You understand?
I understand.
When we were growing up, there were subjects we were making 40%, 30%, and we were failing. Here we are. They don't even matter at all.
Not at all.
Here we are. So at the end of the day, it is about sitting down to analyze the experience you went through.
Exactly.
And how you can gather wisdom from it for the next phase. And to the young guys, or to the young people out there, make the mistakes you can and learn. It's not. I'm not saying that intentionally commit errors, but make them. Just open up yourselves. It's life. No one has done it perfectly. Stick to God. Stick to His word, and He will be the compass that you need to get to where you're going. God bless.
God bless you. So, I may not know what you're going through, But then I believe there are certain things you might be struggling with. But like what we've studied today, sit down, think about the down moments in your life where you need improvement, and recalculate your steps, knowing that God has not given up upon you. So you have no reason to give up upon yourself. You have no reason to be beating yourself. You have no reason to ruin your life. Learn from your mistakes. They are the best teachers we can get in life. I would want you to subscribe to our channel because there are going to be more of such videos just to encourage you, to help you and boost your morale to go after whatever it is that you want to get out of life. God bless you and be blessed.